Where are we starting today?
Oh, I'll go.
Go
You have injury updates on Ryan and Conmoya?
Yeah, both guys have practiced. Both guys are not 100%, but both guys have practiced, and I think we'll see where they're at, obviously, by this weekend. But I would expect both guys to be able to play.
What do you do with Kansas State's rush defense versus its pass defense?
Well, I think the one thing that you see from Kansas State's defense is, number one, it's a veteran group. It's a group that plays really good, to be honest with you. They know where their gaps are. They know where to be. They've got good length in the secondary, and so I think you gotta continue to try to take what they give you, and you can't turn the ball over against them, because that's probably where they've been the most productive. Even if you look at last week's game, Texas had the ability to move the ball at times, but situational football. Texas was terrible on third down, and Kansas State's exceptional on third down, and then they did a great job in the red zone turning the ball over a couple times. So, it's to me, I think that's what makes them really good. And you talk about rush defense and pass defense. I think they're really what makes them so good is situational awareness and situational football. They do a great job.
Because, it doesn't look like Mike's going to get 100, but yet Joel could get 300.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those situations.
Or whomever.
Yeah, I think it's one of those situations that you got to do whatever gives you the best opportunity to be successful. But, the reality for them is they're pretty good across the board.
Heard you talk to the team, I think it was yesterday, about the history of the rivalry between Iowa State and K-State. What were kind of the big talking points and the purpose of that?
Well, I just, what they've done, to be honest with you. I don't, there's not a whole lot of history in terms of the last 17 years of it. It's kind of been one-sided in a lot of ways. And so, my job each week is to educate our football team and the team we're playing. What makes them successful, what they do well, and what, at times they don't do well. But, I think it's really important to our kids to know the history of, number one, this game, number two, what makes them a good football program, a good football team. And, I want to make sure our kids understand what they're getting into on Saturday.
What was the reaction of everybody when you guys started talking about last year's game? Because I know it's one that really hits home to those guys.
Yeah, but to me, last year's game, the year before, and the year before, you look at the last 8 years, those are games that could have went either which way, to be honest with you. I think 7 of the last 8, were really close football games, one-score football games. And the reality of it is, all the credit goes to Kansas State. Their detail and attention to detail till the last whistle is really what has separated the winning and losing in this football game. So, to me, I don't. Doesn't bother me what the reaction was or wasn't. I would hope you're not happy and not satisfied what the outcome has been over the last 8, 9, 10 years.
Does the rivalry kind of reflect how, I guess, the early part of this season's gone? I guess the last few games in the K-State, rivalry in terms of, kind of like what you said, just a couple of plays here and there. It's kind of been the story of your team this season.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of definingness of what we've talked about over the last 2 weeks of, it's detail, it's preparation, it's your willingness to do the little things for 60 minutes. And really this team we're playing, that's what makes them a really good football team. They're outstandingly disciplined. They do a great job in detail and in preparation, and it shows up. It's why they win football games and why they've had opportunities to compete for conference championships. And I certainly respect the heck out of it, and I want to educate our team every time we can on showing them the why and what's our process to get there.
What do you say to coaches when you talk in midfield, and specifically, what were you and Snides chit-chat about, the 20 minutes, 10 minutes or whatever it is you guys?
Yeah, I think everybody's different, and to me, I really don't know a whole lot of these guys. So I think everybody's been more of just trying to get to know them, or So I don't know, but like I said, I said this on Monday, and I'll say this again. I definitely have a great deal of respect for how this program has been built, and to me, it's not just how it's been built, but its ability to sustain. And I think you saw that, when Coach went away, and then when he came back, and all of a sudden, they're back right into where they want to be and what their expectations are. So I think in some ways a good model for us and how we try to build this program.
Are there specific aspects of that model that you particularly want to emphasize with your program?
Well, kind of what I just talked about, discipline, discipline and detail. And, their kids play really hard for 60 minutes, and I've got a great deal of respect for that. And anytime you look at all three phases of the game and their kids show up and play hard and don't make a lot of mistakes, to me that, that's certainly where we want to become and what we want to take this program to.
You talk about that detail when you watch the film of the end of last year's game. Was that kind of indicative of that breaking down in the most obvious way, I guess?
Yeah, I hate to rehash that game. I just don't think that's fair. I wasn't the coach here, but I mean, you see what happens. I mean, obviously, those are details, right? I mean, those are little things, and that's happened to us this year. So I can't sit there and point the blame at somebody else or something else. It's a fact of the matter. Until that gets corrected, we're gonna be talking about the same things on Saturday after games or Mondays. And when you do those things really well, you have a chance to win. And so, obviously, I think that was a situation last year where, the Iowa State team played well for 4 quarters. But that last, 5-6 minutes. Well, 131. But Randy, you even go back to it. I mean, to be honest with you, it's the last 7 minutes of the game, 8 minutes of the football game, and you got a chance to put them away probably at some point in the game, and you don't. You let a team like that hang around. And
Do you have a note card or something with all the different stuff on it? I mean, like 131, you can do 3 knees and maybe 4 if it's a slow spot, or
we
do you have a card?
do. I'm constantly on that. That's something that we talk about, and we do those situations in practice. To be honest, on Tuesday and Wednesday, just to prepare if you ever get in that situation. So, again, whatever that would say, it would say, but everybody chooses to address that differently.
What would your card say? 131. Kansas the opponent has 2 timeouts. Two
One
timeouts
timeout.
left.
They had one.
They had 1 timeout left. Okay, 1 timeout left.
I
They did because they called 2 just.
Right.
Yeah.
I think if you look at that situation, it's a situation that you can go either way. There still would have been some time left on the clock if you would have taken 3 knees. I think that how much time, I don't know. And could you run a play then and just got the got the clock out of there? Certainly those are things you talk about after the fact. And I can't be the guy sitting here criticizing because I wasn't in the moment there and I didn't see it. So, those are all detailed things that's what you work on in the off season and try to make sure that you give your kids the best opportunity to be successful.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks,
All right,
Coach.
guys.